You're on mute.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, it looks like we're recording. I thought we weren't recording.
I put it on.
Oh, you did? Oh,
You ready to roll?
we are
Rolling.
ready. Welcome, everybody.
Oh,
Hey,
Ben.
hey. Ben, where you been? And I don't see a hammock, so you must be
It's
working.
raining outside, boss. And there's a bunch of private lessons going on at the school. So I just came home to meet up with you guys.
Okay. So I guess that's the
Ben,
only way.
catch us up on your momentum for the first quarter.
I've been hovering, really not a lot of momentum. I've been hovering at around 70 to 72,000 a month. I've been working out issues with staffing and details in terms of arranging schedule and leadership organization and all that. So right now I'm not in a growth phase. I'm just in a cleaning up the system phase.
And remember, the bigger you get, the more
Well,
potential.
get used to the being in the phase of
Is yours are you freezing up there, Master Oliver? I think he's frozen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Brown?
I can hear you just fine, Master Smith.
Okay.
Is that better? Is that better?
I can hear you, Master Oliver. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, my connection may crap out here for some reason. Just so you're forewarned and forearmed.
Copy that.
Yeah.
What I was saying though, Ben, was that the larger you get, the more problems that you potentially can have, and you can't stay focused on one thing. You have to make sure that you become. That's why I always liked the analogy. Your job at running a martial arts school is like the plate spinner at the circus. You gotta keep those plates all going. And if you don't, then they're going to fall and crash and burn. We always have to keep our eye on the gross. And while we're doing that one, we can solve the other problems. I always like to use Master Oliver's analogy of the Ford, what's important and urgent, what's not so important, urgent and important, those things. And the most important thing that you have is marketing, intro enrollment, renewals, and then everything else revolves around that. If you're looking at your numbers for the quarter, which you'll be doing in a few days, you want to make sure that your retention is where it needs to be, because even if I have all my focus on the people coming in, if I'm not focusing on those people going out, then all of a sudden I'm spinning my wheels, because my gross isn't going to go up if my active count is going down. So always keep the eye on the active count. Keep your eye on.
Yes, sir. And this is what I found as I get my staff in the position to kind of take over certain things that I used to do. As I'm empowering them to do that, I'm seeing certain numbers drop, and I'm getting them to be trained to do it the way I would do it, to have the same success rate that I had, is a whole different skill set. So the metaphor of this being a martial arts thing, like I'm moving up to another belt level, I have to learn a whole nother skill set of how to manage the staff and expectations that I have. This is all just relatively new to me. So
yeah, just remember also that when you're moving into what I call a supervisory position, in other words, you're not responsible for the classroom, you're not responsible for the office. In other words, you're not doing all the enrollments and renewals, or you're not teaching all the classes. Whoever you put in charge of that, you have two jobs to do. One is you have to train them, But two, you have to make sure that you're looking over their shoulder all the time to make sure that they're doing what you would be doing. And if you take your eye off of them for a week, things will start skidding. So you've got to, on a daily basis, touch base with them, check with them. What gets checked gets done. And until they develop the habit. And then once you get to that point where you're checking on them and everything's good, but when you're checking on them and things aren't good, or they didn't do what you just asked them to do, we just talked about that 2 days ago, and now you still haven't done it. See, now I've got to micromanage them until I get them into a position that they can manage themselves. So it's sometimes for some school owners, it's harder than doing it yourself.
Oh, much.
Because
That's more difficult for me to actually, delegate and make sure all the delegations are being run properly than for me to I prefer to do it my way. I prefer to do it myself, but
and when you delegate, just remember that if they aren't doing it the way you want it done, don't assume they're supposed to know how to do it. You've got to go back to base one and treat them like a white belt and start off with, okay, we've got to do this. We're going to need more training. We're going to have to set up some times to talk about these issues that you have to get you trained up. I'm not putting it off all on you. I want to do my job to get you trained. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to have to work together a little closer until you can do it like I would want it done.
Yes, sir. I have a question at some point during the meeting that's
Go ahead.
adjacent to what you're saying. What's that?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We recently have been doing little classes at the local elementary schools, and more elementary schools are reaching out to us. In fact, the superintendent wants to meet with me and the PTA of the entire school district. This isn't a damn, I think about you, Master Oliver, in the beginning, because I thought you were full of shit when you say, I can tell you how to get into the school district, even the ones that won't allow you in. They're knocking down the door to get me to go to their schools. So now I have permission slips for every goddamn child in 2 entire elementary schools. And I have to call them all and get them. And like, just that whole process is mind boggling for me and my staff to call every single parent to schedule the intro, to get the free boxing gloves and all that. I'm like, oh my God, holy shit. I just spent the entire day in front of this elementary school. Now I have to go teach all my classes or oversee people. And then so that's that for me, that's where the real, when does this happen? How does that happen?
Well, that's a happy problem, Ben.
Firehose.
How many permission slips do you have?
I've got, let me think, right now, probably over 350.
Okay. I mean, in the scheme of things, that's not an overwhelming number, to be fair. How many of those did they check off that they would be interested in a free trial?
That's where I messed up, because me and my program director just realized that we didn't have that box for them to opt in.
Okay.
So we're literally today adding that to the next elementary school box so that we know who raised their hands, because those are the people who we prioritize on contacting.
That makes your life easy.
And everybody else goes on the drip list.
Well, let me say it differently. The way you keep yourself from getting into too much hot water with the local school is to have people specifically tell you that they'd like to be contacted, right? That's the main thing. I would personally prefer not to have that, because I'd like to just blitz everybody. But the place you do get blowback, and it's probably not as bad now, to tell you the truth, as it used to be. We went to a cycle where people were getting pissed off about getting called at 7 o'clock at night, and they passed, in the US anyway, the Do Not Call Act. So if you're on the Do Not Call list, all of that kind of stuff. Nowadays, it's all mobile numbers, and the the hard part is getting them to answer the phone to begin with. But what I would do, Ben, to give it a very clear, easy process that's going to get done, is I would make sure you have them all in digital form. And in digital form, it can be as simple as, you go on Fiverr and you hire somebody and send them over scanned copies of everything, or you get a mom to volunteer, but you get somebody to data enter so that you have name, address, email, phone number, all in an Excel file or in some file, right?
So to take it from pen and paper, put it in a digital file.
Put it in a digital file, right? And then what you can do, and I don't know what software you're using, as you know, we've always been kind of
Zen Planner.
okay. I'm not as familiar with what the capabilities of Zen Planner are at this point. And frankly, all of these platforms keep updating and changing, so it's hard to keep track of even the ones we use. But what I want to accomplish with the list is I want them all to get a voicemail, and I want them all to get a text, and I want them all to be put on our email list, right? So I'm sure in Zen Planner you have the ability to do broadcast email, and you have the ability to do an email newsletter. So you want to
And take them
upload
through
it into,
certain journeys. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what I'd want to do is upload the list, in this case, into Zen Planner, make sure they're getting a regular email newsletter. But if I were you, and this is the shortcut, easy way, I would go to either to Grok AI, which is XAI. You go to X or Twitter, or they have a direct URL, or I'd go to ChatGPT. Frankly, right now I like Grok better. It seems to have more personality. But
Grok, GRO?
GROK. X.com, Twitter. If you go into Twitter, you have to have a like $9 a month account, but you go to Grok, and Grok and ChatGPT are very similar. They're an AI system. But what I would do is I would, write up a little paragraph. I just taught a class at XYZ elementary school. The kids are this age to this age. What I'd like to do is write up 10 emails that talk about how much I enjoyed teaching, tell it what you taught, and especially the character development aspects, and then say, write 10 emails that are follow-ups to that, all of which invite them to come in for their free introductory class and free gloves, or that was the offer, whatever the offer was. And in 7 minutes, it'll spit out 10 emails. Now, they won't be perfect the first time. You'll look at it and say, you know, my rank is this, or our school is this, or, tweak it a little bit. But a couple of iterations of that, now you'll have 10 or 15 emails written that will be great, right? And
Master Oliver, I'm kicking myself for having gone dark the last couple of weeks because you just made my life so much easier.
yeah,
Dude.
that's why you show up, Ben.
God damn, you're right. You're right. You're right.
just saying.
God damn it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So number one, you get them somewhere where you can send them, regular emails, but put together, and again, the AI tools now are so slick that you can come up with stuff with minor tweaks that are going to be good. So I would put them in an email sequence where you send them like an email a day for 2 weeks. And then I would, if Zen Planner can do it, great. Probably it can't. So what I was going to say is, if it can do ringless voicemail, then use Zen Planner. If it can't, go use Call Loop. Call Loop is very inexpensive, and you can upload the list, and then you can just send them all a text. Now, I wouldn't beat them to death on text, because that's something they'll complain about, right? But I would send them a couple of simple texts. The first one is, hi, this is Ben Brown. I was just at your child's elementary school. I really enjoyed teaching them. All of the kids were offered 2 free weeks of lessons and free bag gloves. I forgot to ask whether your family was interested in that or not. If you are, here's the phone number, give us a call, or you can, hold your spot online. Here's the link, and, send them a couple of texts. So what I would do is they all get a broadcast voicemail. 380 of them go out in 10 minutes, right? Then I would send them all a text that follows the voicemail, and it can say basically what I just said, but I would add in there, hey, I just tried to call you. I missed you. So what are you doing? You're doing voicemail, text, email, um, call, text. What is CT? Call, text, email. You're doing that, right? So you're doing a broadcast voicemail to all of them, 380 in one shot. Broadcast text to all of them, text in one shot. Broadcast email to all of them. All of those have the same theme. Hey, I just tried to call you. I was at your child's school. If
Even
you're
though I
not
didn't just
interested,
try to call them, correct?
you did just try to call them. Your
Okay.
automated
that was my-
system just tried to call them, and it
I
didn't
see.
pick up, and it went to their voicemail.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
And for the
I've seen people use this. One of the stories I heard was Michelle Pfeiffer, who has her own makeup company, broadcast voicemails her recent client list. Hey, I saw you. I saw you called. I have my purchase list here in the car. I was just on the 101 freeway. Had some time. I thought I'd reach out to you. Sorry, I missed you.
got it. Yeah,
They don't-
that makes sense.
Yeah.
On the permission slip, is there some NLP verbiage that yes, I want to be contacted regarding XYZ? Like what would be the verbiage on the permission slip for them to raise their hand?
Well, the
The
big
actual slip is on our site as
Okay.
yeah. There's
we've posted it, but Master Oliver has it from memory anyway.
yeah. Here's what I think the biggest thing is it depends upon the depth of relationship with the school and how promotional you can get away with being, right? I used to have a permission slip that was the ad that I had permission from Chuck Norris to use. So it was karate's the best thing you do for your child, said by Chuck Norris. With the offer on the thing, an outline of what the basic program was, and then it said, we're going to be doing a program at your child's school. We're excited to offer anybody who participates 2 free weeks of lessons, a free uniform. It's absolutely free, no obligation. If you'd like us to contact you, check yes. I mean, it was very promotional, right?
Got it.
But these were schools that we had like an in-depth relationship with. And, there's other schools that I'm pushing my luck even to just get my foot in the door. So then I'm going to be much more milquetoast about it, right? It's going to be, I get permission for my child to participate in this class. Here's what's going to be covered. And then, by the way, anybody who participates, what's the name of your school again?
Phase 3.
Phase 3. That's right. I knew that. Phase 3. There you go. In fact, you always got the shirt on. Phase 3 spelled strangely.
PHAS.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Phase 3. So Phase 3 martial arts is offering all the kids who participate 2 free weeks of lessons and free bag gloves. If you'd like to be contacted, just schedule a time to take advantage of that. Check yes. If not, we won't contact you.
And so for the people that didn't check, we're not sending them emails. They don't go in the drip list. We just
No.
Okay.
For people who didn't check, we're not calling them.
Copy. Okay.
Okay. So here would be my rule of thumb. I'm not going to worry about direct mailing anybody. With email, I'll reach out and say, here's our email newsletter, and we'd like to send you some more information about the program and so forth. If you want to opt out at any time, here's the opt-out link. In fact, you could put the first one that the opt-out link is like in the second sentence. If you prefer not to be contacted, opt out right here, and take yourself off the list. So you're going to get very little issue with emailing, especially if you make it blatantly obvious how to get off the list. And direct mail, I think once in 45 years has anybody ever objected to getting mail from us. Nobody
so your
ever.
drip list is like a black hole. Everything goes in, never comes out.
Right.
Okay. And my
Well,
staff
hopefully it comes out as an enrollment, but yeah.
copy. Yeah.
And
Sometimes
Yeah.
my staff is concerned about the spam effect of what we do,
No, just on something like that, you just give them almost everything else. Well, even this, but everything you're doing is permission-based marketing, right? they're
Copy.
already always giving you the contact information. And frankly, I would do lots of spam if it worked. Just cold email doesn't work very well. I've done thousands of spam emails over the years. It used to work. It doesn't work anymore. I've done spam fax. We used to do spam voicemail. Just most of that stuff either is now illegal or doesn't work, right? Especially just cold email.
Sure.
But in this case, they gave you the contact information. You didn't get the explicit permission. So just ask them in the first paragraph of the email. We just thought your child's school. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about what we did. All the kids had an offer to come in. If you're interested, let us know. And by the way, here's the link to be removed from any future communication by email. If you don't want us to, communicate with you by this mechanism, or if you don't want us to communicate with you at all, either way, just, click here and you'll be taken off the list.
Just the last 10 minutes of you guys talking to me is worth the price of admission right there. Thank you.
Yeah,
gentlemen.
yeah, you bet.
And let me
Now
remind,
this,
let
go
me
ahead.
remind everybody, these after school programs, and anytime you go into the school system, there is more moving parts in that marketing, but it is potentially a big home run, just like you found out. But there is more moving parts. There's more things you're going to have to do. It takes a little more training. The mistake that some people make is they get focused on doing that and trying to figure out how to do it and get it all set up, and they're not doing any other marketing, and then all of a sudden they're not getting any leads or enrollments that month. So we've got to make sure, and Master Oliver covered it very well yesterday, so if you weren't on yesterday, review yesterday's meeting, because he talked about getting, your goal is, if you're not getting 100 leads right now, then you're not doing your job. And those 100 leads should generate you at least 20 enrollments. Some people do 25 or 30, but at least 20. So if you're not getting 100 leads and you're not getting 20 enrollments, we know why. And there's only two reasons why. One, you're not doing enough marketing, or two, you're not very good at the conversion of those 100 leads. And as long as you track those leads all the way down to the enrollment, we can find out where you're losing them and fix that. That means from the lead to the appointment, to the first intro, to the second intro, to the enrollment conference, to the enrollment. Remember those steps, because you need to know where they fell off. We have some people that get 100 leads, and out of that, they'll get 40 or 50 intros, and then only get 8 enrollments. And then they think they're doing a bad conference. And when we go back and look at their numbers, we realize they lost 10 who didn't come back for the second. They lost another 15 who never had an enrollment conference. So when we get down to the ones that they actually talk to, they have about a 60 or 70% closing rate, which is a fine percentage. But make sure you're doing enough marketing. Don't be that guy who says, oh, but you don't understand, in my area, there's nothing to do. No, there's plenty to do. If you look, you've got to be the one that can go out and find that, Google it, check with your local, county offices on what's going on in your community, the Chamber of Commerce, and Google it and look in your community areas what's going on. And if you do, you'll find enough stuff. And the percentages that Master Oliver said yesterday was 1/3 of your marketing should come from external marketing, 1/3 should come from internal marketing, and 1/3 should come from the internet marketing. And if you're doing all of that, so if I got 100 leads, 30 of them came from here, 30 of them came from there, 30 came from there, etc. Some people we find have all their marketing in one basket. So they got their 100 leads from one source. And let's say that was just, let's just say that was the internet. and they didn't get a good appointment rate. They didn't get a good show rate, so they didn't get many intros. Well, sometimes the internet works well, sometimes it doesn't. That's why if you hit all three of those areas in the same month, one of those will get you enough, or the combined of those three we find will consistently give you that 20 range of enrollments that you need to grow to get our $1 million school numbers. So make sure that you do the things that are the easiest first, but do a lot of them. Internal stuff. If you're not doing birthday parties, if you're not doing buddy days, if you're not doing all of these internal things that we get our students engaged in, then you're missing a big portion of what you're supposed to be doing. And I will tell you, those are much easier than the school program. Master Oliver, mastered that over a number of years, but has the system down for you to follow. But it does take more moving parts than a lot of the other marketing.
Yeah, but and Ben, I didn't quite finish the list here. None of what I said keeps you from having to have a live person go through and call people. And the aggressiveness that you're going to use on permission slips from the elementary school, I would say, is quite a bit milder than it's going to be that you're doing a lead follow-up of somebody opted into Facebook or something. Because again, your fear is you don't want one of the parents to complain about, you've been calling them 9 times a day. But the other thing I didn't say, you've got the list digitized. You want to get multiple pieces of direct mail out to them as rapidly as possible. Okay. So do you have any pictures of you teaching the gym classes at the school or anything like that?
Lots of them.
Good.
For every
Take here's what I would do. I would take a picture of you teaching PE class and make it the billboard of a postcard. And you're going to have the headline be, "I so enjoyed working with your child at XYZ Elementary School." Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
put the picture of you teaching one of the PE classes, make that the headline. And then on the back side of the postcard, you reiterate, basically what that first email was going to be of, "Hey, I forgot to let you know ahead of time, but all the kids are invited in to come into a couple free weeks and get free bag gloves. Here's what we'll teach during that 2 weeks. If you'd like to take advantage of that, here's the phone number. Here's the hours that we're here. Talk to whoever it is going to be at the front desk, and give us a call, and we'll schedule an appointment right now for that." You could even do a fake handwritten note card.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of suppliers, Amazing Mail does a great job of, let me get the color postcard out immediately, put the upload the color cover and so forth. But Cassie over at Handy Mail, she can do a picture on the cover, and then I forget how many words. It's not very big, but you can make it look handwritten. Dear Joey, or dear Mrs. Smith, I had so much fun working with you at the school, but I forgot to mention, you get this offer. I'd love to see you at the school. Signed, Ben Brown, and here's the phone number. Here's the web address.
Beautiful. That's great. Thank you for that. Couple quick questions. Number one, the local newspaper, the principal for the first elementary school asked the newspaper to come do an article on it. So we have.
Does this get better?
I swear to God, it's like gold. So they did an article on me teaching the kids, and it's not just about punches and kicks, etc., which is great. But also, when I was walking out, when we were leaving that first elementary school, we left right around lunchtime where kids were doing recess and lunch and all that. And I watched one of the administrators with a megaphone trying to get all their attention, and they didn't know how to handle their kids. So on the last day, I have on video wild school, the entire school, I walked out and I yelled, "At attention," and the whole school stopped. And I had them all do the student creed. in uniform. I have it. I have that on video. I controlled the entire goddamn school. I have it on video, right? And the teachers were just aghast. So my question is,
That they always are.
they can't
I hate
believe
to
It's-
say it, but
it's
they
not
always suck
something
compared
new.
to, yeah.
They think we're wizards or something, like we have a magic wand.
it's like
How do you
magic
do that?
powers.
Is it mind control? What do you do?
Are there for things like
Which
that?
is also a good selling point for homeschooling, I must say.
Yeah, amen.
But go ahead.
Are there ways that I could weaponize or leverage those pieces of media?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
One
God.
is, put the video up on your website or on YouTube. Two is include the link in the text message that goes out and in the email that goes out. Number three, the article. Has it come out already?
Yeah.
Print the article and do a mailer with a cover letter that says, you may not have seen this, but obviously our class was well received at your school. Here's the article about the program that we did. And so the letter kind of writes itself. This was so much fun. And by the way, here's an article that was done at the local whatever paper it was. Now, this now brings up all kind. Again, anytime you have something like this, the question is always how do you plus it, right? So you use the article to mail it to the kids, all the permission slips. You use the article to mail it to all of the other schools. So mail the article out to all of the other principals.
Schools, what they're going to say when you say, would you be interested in me coming in and doing what I did at this elementary? Here's an example, and then you show them, and then they go like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
Mail the article to
superintendent for
all
the
the other
school-
principals.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
No, the superintendent for the entire school district is asked to meet with me.
Yeah.
Bring
What the
that
hell?
video.
And the PTA, it wants me to do special parent kids parties now. Like the
Watch the last half of yesterday's video.
yes,
Because
sir.
that's the same thing. William Wong is meeting with their local superintendent, and we went through the entire conversation yesterday. So on the video from yesterday's meeting.
Good. I need that.
But the article, mail it to all the PE teachers, mail it to all the PTO presidents, mail it to all of the principals. Next is send the video and the article to all of your local TV news stations.
Oh, you are a brilliant
Okay.
son of a bitch.
So
That's
send
all.
it to the producers at all the local TV stations. Okay.
Yep.
And then send the article to all of the other news coverage. Okay. And nowadays online, there's so much stuff, right? But figure out what all the local, everything from blogs to moms groups to, legitimate news outlets, and send it to all of them. The video itself, I bet you can get it to go semi-viral locally.
Right. It
Right.
really is a drastic change. Wild kids come into perfect soldiers with just one word. Like,
Yeah.
that's the tagline. Yeah.
Yeah, don't use the word soldiers in
Of
California.
course.
but-
Yes.
Yeah,
Just say
except in San Diego.
Say perfect
Except in San Diego.
students, not soldiers.
Yeah,
Perfect students.
You can use that in Texas.
Perfect students as well.
But
Or model, either
yeah.
model students or perfect
Yeah,
students.
that's a red state language. But again, I mean, how many different ways do you plus it, right? So you've got this great article. It should be a separate mailer to all the kids, right? And again, I mean, it's only 380 of them. So if you sent them 4 pieces of mail, nobody's going to complain. The first one, if it's a picture of you teaching the class, every parent's going to look at it. If it's a personal note, handwritten, especially mail merged in with the kids or the parents' names, they're all going to read that. And then if it's a big, this size, piece with the article, a cover letter with the article, and did they actually print it physically in a paper, or was it online?
Both, but I didn't get the one online because I didn't get the paper one because they told me it was come out in the next couple of weeks, and it came out the next day. So I was
talk to them and see if they could do a reprint of that page of the paper.
Okay.
What I would love to do is I would love to have it printed on newsprint in exactly the same format as the paper, that I staple it to the letter,
Ah,
right?
okay.
There's people who did, tremendous, direct mail campaigns with, looks like it was Wall Street Journal, but it never says Wall Street Journal, or it said Wall Street Journal, and they got, dove under the radar. But if it was actually a newsprint from the newspaper, it'll even be more impactful.
Great. Okay.
But if
I've
there's a
got so many
link,
things on my to-do list now. This is great. Like,
there's
this
a
is all
link online. There's a link online, so include the link in all the emails that you follow up, right? In fact, that could be the first email. Hey, I had a great time. We took a little video. I don't know if you saw that. And by the way, there was a newspaper article about the class. Here's the link to the article. And I forgot to mention, I'd love to, and the voicemail could reference all that. He'd say, hey, I just sent you, I was trying to call you and let you know I forgot to mention, but I also just emailed you a link to a newspaper article about the class we taught, a little video that we took at the elementary school, and some other information about the 2 free weeks if you have any interest. But I'm sure you'd be, enjoy having the article, for the scrapbook or something, and you might enjoy the video we took. See, that's going to get all of them to look at it.
That is gold. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, okay. What else good came out of this? You're bearing the lead here, Ken.
Well, Mike, I mean, once again, when we first met, I thought you were all
You thought it was
full
full
of
of shit.
it. I did. And it's still like when you said you'll be drinking from a fire hose, I just, nah. But this whole elementary school thing, like getting into this school district is incredibly hard. And now they are lining up for my schedule for when I can afford. They're all trying to get me in by the end of the year. I don't have time.
Yeah.
Yet I've got all these. So like all of that is true. Drinking from the fire hose. But I've even have teachers of the kids that are signing up, and you always know which classes are the best behaved classes by the teachers that actually take the little martial arts class with the kids. Their engagement makes all the difference, right? And I don't know if I mentioned the PTA, like the multi-school parent teacher, association, have been asking for classes where the parents and the kids can train together, and we're going to do specialized days for them and group intros and stuff. It really is just a matter of fitting it in the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They want, and they want a sustained relationship in the future. They're asking me to do, they're going to get rid of their yoga programs in school and want to replace it with me. So this is an ongoing inter perpetuity pipeline for students for my school.
Yeah. And again, watch yesterday's video, and then there's 4 hours Bob has posted in the Facebook group. Watch that. So I don't want to repeat what we talked about yesterday for everybody who was there. Anybody who's interested in getting deeper into this, again, yesterday's recording of the Wednesday meeting as well. But what I'd ideally like to end up with, Ben, is where you're going in and doing a 3-week after school enrichment program, maybe once a year at each of the schools. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so, between now and the end of the year, if you go do like a PE teacher for the day and get permission slips from all of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them you can get in April or May and still do an after school enrichment program, but all of them set them up for fall and spring next year. Right. So
and do that now.
Yeah, do it now.
Got it.
Yeah. What I was always doing is, once I had momentum, is scheduling the fall and scheduling the fall and the spring, and the spring and the fall. And then when I would finish one, I would just schedule it for a year later. And depending upon how many you have to do, I was trying to do a couple of months. And the numbers on that, again, I went over yesterday. But if there's 300 kids in the school, you'll end up with more or less 20%. So 60 in the after school enrichment program, more or less a third of them enrolled. So more or less 20. So if you could do a couple of those a month, you've got 40 enrollments a month. If everything goes right, some of them will bomb, some of them will go better than expected. Sometimes you'll drop the ball because you get overwhelmed or whatever.
Right.
But my record was, personally, I mean, face to face, belly to belly, I did 400 I think it's 86 enrollments in 9 months, and 1 month was 78.
Got it.
No, William Wong is on in the background there somewhere. I don't see him on camera, but this
Oh, there he
might
is.
be some extra information for you. I don't know how much you've heard if you were on for all of Ben's talking. Did you catch all that? How long were you on the whole time? Okay.
And William, did you have any follow-up questions from yesterday?
No, not at the moment. I just need to put all this together, and I'm sure I'll have questions for you next week.
Did you hear
Yeah.
some of this stuff? Ben was talking about how he videoed this and took pictures at the school and all that. So
Okay.
don't forget all
And you're
that.
gonna keep track
Yes,
And don't
so
forget
I
to-
will be taking pictures as well
of BBC.
when I go in and do those things.
Oh, good. Okay.
We've got a little background conversation going on there.
Yeah,
I got it, sir.
Bob got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You guys, just keep
I
this.
recognize the voice of Bill Aniston and his stuff.
No, that's iPhone 39.
Yeah, that's Bill.
That's his alias.
Gotcha. Okay, so something that we were talking about earlier in the week as well, and I just saw Sydney on the meeting here. Something that I think I forgot to mention it yesterday, but we were Master Smith, you said it a minute ago, and just in passing, and I want to come back, and Sydney, it was a conversation you and I were having. What we get a lot is we get people who say, well, I can't find anything in my area. But oftentimes what they mean is my staff member who was in charge of setting this stuff up came back to me and said there's not anything going on. And Ben, this is one of your staffing issues as well. Here's what I found. Maybe it just was poor management. I don't really think it was, is almost every big live event that we found and did very successfully, I'm the one that personally located. Is what I would do is all the parent magazines in the area, the different, publications that would have events nowadays, it's, websites that are parent websites and so forth that have events. You could go print off the Eventbrite schedule for families, and you could print off the parenting magazine or All About Kids or whatever they call it in your area. And if there's any parent publications, bring them in. I would bring all of that into our staff meetings and give them all highlighters, and we'd have 25 people going through and highlighting things and so forth. And still, what would happen is every time I drove to one of my schools, I take a different route. I still drive Master Smith and anybody who rides with me crazy, because when I'm driving around Denver, I never take the same route to get anywhere. They'll always go, "Are you going the right way to get there?" Last time we went that way, it's like, yeah, it's just an old habit. But my habit was I would drive by all the parks. I would drive by all the community centers. I would drive by all the elementary schools. Sometimes I would find the big live events because there's a banner at the local park, or there's a banner on the softball field, or there's something. Or sometimes it'd be I walk in the community center and I'm talking to the girl at the front desk and picking up the brochures and looking at the posters, or it's walking into the elementary schools and the churches. But it really is kind of, you discover much of this stuff, and the internet age, Googling and so forth, solves a lot of this problem, and you find a lot of it on Facebook or something. But really, there's nothing that substitutes looking at the bulletin board in the local coffee shop, looking at the bulletin board in the local grocery store, walking into every community center, church, elementary school, driving by every park, and just paying attention. Because, and again, I found it always very hard to delegate. The biggest issue, Matt Smith, you can identify with this, when I had 6 locations, is the branch managers would not get these elementary school programs set up. And then they would come back to me and say they have a policy against, or they won't let this, or one thing or another happen. They had this, their easy response was they made one effort one time and they got rebuffed. And that's kind of what you were saying, Ben, in your area. It's difficult until it's not, right? And when I got really going with that for a while, couple different times I hired people who only did that. One of them had been a sales rep for a book company where they set up book fairs and book shows in the schools, Larry Arado, and he already had that skill set. Another one was a black belt who a son of a black belt who just graduated from an MBA program, and I trained him how to do it. And so I had somebody who just did elementary schools. But they fixed my number one problem, which was setting them up to begin with. But honestly, in a single school or even in a multi-school operation, the owner has to be the primary person who's targeting marketing opportunities. And again, every month I would come into our meeting and say, there's this thing going on here, there's this thing going on here, there's this thing coming up. And if it was something like Karate Kid, Ninja Turtles, movie promotions, or if it was something that we were doing that was a big event, the Boy Scout Jamboree, 90% of those things I personally set up. I had to pick up the phone. I had to talk to somebody. I had to get in the car and walk out and do it, which is fine. I mean, all of the classes were being run by head instructors. All of the sales were being done by program directors. You know, the accounting was being done by somebody. But I never could abdicate hiring, training, firing, developing staff, and I never could abdicate, never could get rid of me having to go find the marketing opportunities and then force feeding them down into the pipeline.
Is that because of your capability or your motivation? Do you understand the question?
I think
I'm the owner of the school. I care more, right? Or
No,
I'm more.
it was their lack of talent or persistence.
Well, I think it's the second part that you said, Master Smith, is I could train them for a week, but if I have 10 program directors, you always have the 80-20 rule. You have the 2 that are kicking ass, and you have the the other 8 that are just doing okay, right? And the 2 that are kicking ass can go do all that kind of stuff because they're just immune from criticism, and they don't take no for an answer easily, and all of that kind of stuff. But it really is hard to replicate people who don't hear no and who are going to be immune to criticism. Most staff who do a fine job in everything take no for an answer too easily. Okay. And I don't mean to bulldog through, but they get told that things can't happen. That's one of the things I like about reading biographies, whether you read Henry Ford's biography and there's a long story, that's become famous about developing the V8 engine, where all of the engineers kept coming in and telling him it was impossible to develop a V8 engine. And he said, well, if you can't do it, I'll get somebody who can. And, you look at Steve Jobs and the way that he managed, but you look at Elon Musk, there's all kinds of stories in that, pretty well done biography of him of, it's not impossible. If you're not the one who can do it, are you tendering your resignation? I'll get somebody who can. That's basically the language he was using. But in our context,
throughout all the successful stories and biographies.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. In our context, usually have people who are going to be, perhaps they're great at teaching the class, but they're intimidated to go talk to the principals at the elementary schools. They're great they can follow the script and do the first intro, do the second intro, hit acceptable, even good ratios. But for them to go hustle and get the local scouts to set something up and get a newspaper ad and all that stuff, they don't do it, right? June Rhee, you'll agree with this, Master Smith. He had a couple of PR guys and all kinds of other stuff, but still most of the big publicity stunts he pulled off was because he went and did it. He built the relationship with Muhammad Ali. He built the relationship with Sugar Ray Leonard, with, Jack Anderson, all of those people. It was because he was out hustling, looking for those opportunities.
Wait, what kind of relationship did he have with Sugar Ray Leonard?
Less so with Sugar Ray than with a lot of them. He had a great relationship with Muhammad Ali.
Really?
Matt Smith, you were working more with Sugar Ray Leonard. I think Mike Coles was sparring partner, and his kid was a student in the school.
Okay.
Do I have that right? Matt Smith, you're muted.
Yes. Yeah, his son took lessons at one of our schools. And Mike Coles, one of our instructors, was one of his sparring partners.
Crazy.
Yeah, because Mike was left-handed when he was fighting somebody who was a southpaw.
Yeah, I'm still blown away, Master Smith, that Rick Rufus was your water boy, your spit boy. That fucking blows me away. God.
Yeah, I think that picture, Rick was what, 8?
At 12 years old when he was.
Was he 12 or 8? Okay.
And Mike Coles was the U.S. champion, the number 1 lightweight contender in kickboxing in the PKA. And Sugar Ray, because Master Ree met Sugar Ray at one of the boxing events with Muhammad Ali. And then Sugar Ray said, can I bring my son? I'd love to have my son take classes. And they were over close to Mike Cole's school. So he brought him by and was a student for a number of years.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
I knew that Jun Ree was a badass, but I didn't know he was so connected with the professional boxing world.
And Tony Robbins was one of his students. And of course, he taught all the senators and congressmen, including Joe Biden and many other senators and congressmen. But
yeah, Newt
was
starstruck.
Jun Ree actually saw them as opportunities.
Oh yeah. But he taught up Capitol Hill I taught up there for 20 years because he had me do it half the time, which I hated doing because I had to get up at 5 a.m. to get down there by 7 a.m. In the middle of DC from out in Maryland or Virginia. So, but Junri the connections he had were phenomenal. And, he trained Muhammad Ali for his fight with Inoki and took him to Korea.
Shut up. Really?
And did a ticket parade with the president of Korea down in one of the open top convertibles, setting up.
They had over 1 million people show up.
Yeah, it was all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah. But
that's how we grew up and figured all this shit out.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, frankly, most people, and again, it's like your staff. Most people who are in the organization, and Matt Smith, you just said it, you were annoyed by it at the time, is, to a great extent, when you're in the middle of it, again, that's why I kind of, liken myself to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, but it was a little bit of Born with a Silver Spoon, not because of money, but because of, being around all this. But, my instructors in Oklahoma thought there was no way to make money running a martial arts school. One of the instructors said you can go to Denver and play karate for a couple of years and then get a real job. In the meantime, Junri Institute was, inflation adjusted, probably $5 million a year in today's terms, martial arts organization with the safety equipment company and, whatever else was ancillary to all of that stuff, and the, kickboxing promotions.
Yeah, and Junri taught George Allen, coach of the Redskins, and his whole family. And that's how I started teaching the Redskins. I had about 20 of them that did a hour-and-a-half kickboxing program with me twice a week in the mornings. And this was back when they were winning all the Super Bowls. And these were all the guys that were in the Pro Bowl and Hall of Famers. They weren't the average guys. I mean, I had, Art Monk and Darryl Green and Ken Harvey and all these other top Pro Bowlers. And so, you learn how to take your community and dominate it. And Jun Ree not just dominated the Washington, D.C. area, but because so many people came to Washington, D.C. for things going on, he ended up meeting them. There's a great video when Jun Ree was getting nominated, was not nominated, was awarded a martial artist of the century, along with Muhammad Ali as the boxer of the century, and along with Wilt Chamberlain as the basketball of the century, and Bob Hope. And this was at the Touchdown Club, which was one of the largest sports clubs in Washington, D.C., which was just down the hall from our D.C. school. And Bob Hope was the MC, and he introduced.
Oh, was that was that 2000 Elm Street, more or less, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Oh,
And Bob Hope introduces June Reed. June Reed comes up, and on the microphone with Bob Hope as the MC, he says, thank you for this award. I just wanted to clear up something on who was the greatest. Muhammad Ali said he was the greatest, and Wilt Chamberlain said he was the greatest. Well, I want to solve this once and for all. So he said, Ali, come up. Wilt,
you're first.
and he
Oh,
takes
you're
his
first.
coat off, and he says, not both at the same time, one at a time. Muhammad, I'll take you first. And he's going like this, right? And everybody is cracking up. And then, he finishes, and when he steps off the mic, then Bob Hope goes, can you imagine the size of his jock strap?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's on video. I posted
even next to Bob Hope, June Reed looked so small, but next to Wilt Chamberlain and Muhammad Ali, he looked like a midget. It was hilarious.
It's absolutely hysterical, and they're all in tuxedos. So June Reed's ripping off his tux jacket, going, "Okay, Ollie, you first." I don't know if you've ever seen it when Stallone was getting I think he was getting the Academy Award for Rocky, and they had Muhammad Ali walk on stage up behind him, like he was going to fight him. It reminded me very much. Yeah. It reminded me very much of that. It was hysterical.
It's probably where he got the idea.
Well, no, this was way before that. This is probably 10, 12 years, 15 years.
Bob Hope was the MC. So, that's back in the early 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, this was before that. But something I posted in the community is there was a video going around where Ivanka Trump is training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so the instructor I forget his name, Valente, is that his name in Miami? But the instructor posted a series of videos of Ivanka Trump doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I guess she's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something like that now. I'd heard her talking about it a year or so ago that she was training. And I think she started with the kids and then she got training. But it's a marvelous current example of always use celebrity. Now, how valuable is that going to be to this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor to get Ivanka Trump to do this promo for him? And by the way, they brought in a nice professional videographer. It's very sharp looking. Now if it were me, I'd rather it be in a classroom setting rather than it's just her and the instructor doing various things. But what you always want to do, and as Smith just illustrated a minute ago, you want to do two things at once. You want to become a celebrity in your area, and you want to attach yourself to as many celebrities in your area as possible. And whether it's aggressively working to get people who have, and there are a lot of local celebrities that, there's going to be people in your area, Ben, that I would not have a clue who they are. How most sports celebrities, I wouldn't know who they are, but there's in our area, I ended up with 3 marquee Denver Broncos players, and utilized it whenever I could, do it. And the way you generate publicity is become a celebrity, attach yourself to celebrities, attach yourself to current news stories, and find really interesting human interest stories, right? So many of us have people in the school. Oftentimes we don't even know, what it is that makes them special. I had 2 times 2 different radio personalities who were in the top 3 in the city on talk radio, where their kids or their grandkids were training with me, and ended up using that to generate, conversations, got them to talk about it on the air, got interviewed on the air with them and so forth. I had the #1 weathercaster in the area, and we did every day at noon, did a little class with him, and at the end of the week promoted him to white belt and made a big deal on the air with that. It was his son that was a student. But and I can kind of go on and on and on, but always look in your student body to figure out if you have people who either C-suite executives in big companies, or they're well known in the area for whatever reason, sports newscasters, those types of people are the most obvious, right? Um, and if you can go and get to them aggressively, it makes all the difference in the world. And again, Master Smith mentions all these people that June Reed was affiliated with. Well, none of it was by accident. I mean, he was a Korean immigrant from the Korean army who had no connections with anybody anywhere. And he would see news stories that seemed like they made sense and go track down the ambassador who got mugged, or go track down the congressman who got mugged. And then they would strategize on getting it into a news story. And then the congressman that got mugged ended up turning into a congressional class. Or he would figure out a way to get to Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Jack Valente, who was the head of the Motion Picture Association, the famous politicians, H.W. Bush, Joe Biden, Newt, you had a couple of speakers of the House, among others. They all came from, he ended up with a congressman got mugged.
Yeah,
He
Jesse
approached the congressman. Yeah. Which one was that?
Jesse Jackson, both junior and senior.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were-
So he had
I think the
Jesse
trick
Jackson
would be
Jr.
identifying what a celebrity is locally, because I just
Mhm.
don't, really. I'd have to think that through,
Yeah.
But-
I don't know if you even knew how he got George Allen, and George Allen's team.
I didn't.
Had just won the Super Bowl the year before, and they were in the playoffs again, and they were playing Dallas for the big finale to see the winner of that game was going to go into the NFC Championship. And so he calls up George Allen, and he says he wanted to have George Allen break a board in front of all the players, and they wrote "Beat Dallas" on it. And he taught George Allen a sidekick and a punch, and George Allen broke 2 boards with the punch and a sidekick, and he had two people holding. I was actually one of the ones holding on one side, and one of our other instructors on the other. And he does a step through sidekick here and breaks 2 boards that says "Beat Dallas," and then goes over here and breaks 2 boards with the punch. Well, players back then were even more mesmerized about martial arts and the mystique of it then. So when they saw him break those boards, they put him on such a pedestal. And that's when George Allen's family started training, and that's when I started training the players. So it was that one little thing that he just picked up the phone and said, "Look, I've got something I want to get the players psyched up for the game. Here's what I'd like to do. Teach you how to break the boards. I know you can do it," and blah, blah, blah. So, you got to be a little proactive. But, as Master Oliver was saying about the guy down teaching Trump, not all of the people know how to capitalize on that stuff. They'll just not even take pictures, or the news will come out and it'll play, but then they won't take a copy of that and replay it, or use it in their marketing, or use it to bring other people on board. No different than what we were telling you about that great footage that you had with the school and with the students. Having that footage is one thing, but utilizing it to capitalize, to get more schools involved, to get more students involved. See,
I knew that was cool footage to have, but I wouldn't have known what to do with it or how to leverage it. So,
but see, that's where you learn like you were talking, getting to the next level on your marketing and the next level. Those are the kind of things that you have to learn how to do, and you have to learn how to. Getting on the next level is knowing how to dominate the marketing in your community. And
and as far as how to find them, Ben, and it is important for everybody. I don't do it anymore. I mean, I'm a news junkie, but it's national, international, not local at this point. But we had 2 major daily papers. I subscribed to both of them, and I would go through both daily newspapers, and I would go through national news as well. and you're always looking for what is in the news that I could tie into, right? Sometimes it's, you know, like we had a spate of, you know, college girls getting attempt on campus, and that was in the news. And so then you tie into that, and we went and did classes at all the sororities and ended up with TV coverage of us doing that kind of stuff and built on it from that. That'd be perfect for you, that type of thing. And sometimes it was, but again, when you're looking for celebrity, the local people who are on TV newscasts, less they're less celebrity now than they used to be because you know, it's more diffuse, but they're still, you know, recognizable figures
But
for a
they're
lot of people.
recognizable, right?
Right. So, you know, pro sports teams of any sort, you know, or second tier feeder teams. You know, a lot of the, like when I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma didn't have any pro teams, but the, you know, if you had the picture of the Oilers, you know, that would have been cool, or something like that. It was a feeder team to somebody. I don't even know.
Oh,
But
you just made me think. We have a lot of top end restaurants and wineries around here. Guy Fieri's
mhm,
a local. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I should go
yeah,
get him. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so, you know, but go through that list of people, and you know, sometimes you end up with their kids, right? For me, most of the Broncos players that I had, they came in and enrolled their kids, and then I enrolled them with them. Although some of them, you know, we were teaching them directly. Um, but you know, you just kind of go through the list, and once you get a newscaster, it's easy to get a lot of other newscasters. Once you get a football player or a baseball player, it's kind of easy to get a number of the others, especially if they're. I always had a lot of the marquee guys who were recently retired, um, but I ended up with it by knowing the student body. You know, I ended up with like somebody in the front office at the Broncos, somebody at the front office of the Nuggets. That's our pro basketball team, and then you can use that for a lot of things. Um, but oftentimes you end up with a CEO of a company. We had, you know, they got bought up by Wells Fargo, but the biggest banking system in Colorado, the CEO was a student. We had the regional director for McDonald's. We had the regional owner for Paul Mitchell Distributors. You know, on and on and on. And those companies all knew, you know, like through Paul Mitchell, we had ties to John Paul DiGiorgio, who's the owner, and, you know, but other people that they brought in as celebrities we could do stuff with. So oftentimes you just end up with the right tier of people, right? And then, you know, and then you can go from there.
Question adjacent to that. My staff and I were trying to figure out because we have a strong adults program. All right. We have a
Mhm.
strong fight team, which is a whole different monster, right? But an adults program, which is just the everyday person, and then a strong kids program. We know how to do like activities or like game days, pizza parties, all that for kids. But social events for the school to come together and bring your friends for adults,
Mhm.
I haven't really noodled through how to do that aside from watching the fights when the UFC comes out or whatever, right? But um, do you have any recommendations on what social events for the school would be for adults?
Oh
And
yeah.
they could bring their friends, you know, because like Guy Fieri, his wife, she has friends. I want them. You understand what I'm asking you?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, Again, Matt Smith, you probably have a long list as well. But most of the buddy day events and so forth that we did for the first 3 or 4 years before I went full hog on Karate Kid we were 90-10 adults to kids.
Mm.
You know, so we had 90% adults, in other words. And we had, you know, the St. Patrick's Day parties and all the different, you know, holiday excuses for parties. And we had, you know, you can have adult movie nights. I don't mean pornos, you know, but you can have, you know, a Enter the Dragon-ish current movie rather than the ballerina movie, you know, rent out the theater for the next John Wick movie,
Ooh, that's
and
a good
take the
idea.
adults. I mean, that one looks good too,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, it has to be a good
So
movie.
yeah, you would think so. So, you know, things like that. I mean, look for the tier above, you know, Karate Kid that, you know, would attract the, you know, the adult crowd. And so, rent the movie theater out for John Wick, do parties that are related to any kind of different holidays and something. But also look for, Joe just got promoted to senior VP of sales, and let's have a party at the martial arts school for all of his work associates and friends to celebrate. That's the equivalent of a pizza party, right?
Accomplishments outside of like martial arts accomplishments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, the whole idea of the pizza party is to recognize accomplishment. And with kids and adults, you recognize black belt. It's a big deal. The average 27-year-old may not invite all their friends down to see them get their gold belt. But if it's, something else big, same thing applies. Master Smith, you have some other ideas on that?
Yeah, and Ben, you have to realize Mother's Day is coming up, Father's Day is coming up, so you're going to do a Mother's Day, all mothers train free for May, all fathers train free for June. What we would do is I would go to organizations, because I was in a lot of groups. I was in a tennis a club, group. We had a tennis team I was on a softball team. I was on a billiard team. And I have students that are in basketball teams and soccer teams. So what I do is I tell them, I said, look, let's get together and do a training for your team at the end of the season, or people in your league. So we get the softball league, and we put it out to all the teams, which there's hundreds of players, and they have an 18 to 34 group. They have an over 34, so they have even different age groups in the county programs for whether it's basketball or soccer or baseball.
Do you do special sessions for them, or try to plug them into your regular schedule?
Oh, no, a special. That's what I'm doing. That's one of my social events this month is this. Remember, you can have one thing that brings a lot of people, or you can get one people to bring a lot of people. And I think it was, wasn't it Gemma that was talking about how?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. We spent 30 minutes on this yesterday, Ben. So on the meeting yesterday. Yeah. And she, I have the numbers here, but she had, I think, 100 registrations, 56 shows, and 38 appointments, if I got the numbers right, from women's running groups.
Oh.
So she had done a women's self-defense thing
with
for
the women's running group, and it was one of her students that was in a running group, and she wanted to know if she would teach a thing for them. And then Gemma had the idea, well, are there other running groups? And she was the president of it. So she said, is there other running groups that would be interested? And so Gemma didn't do any of it. This lady contacted all the other running groups, and she had 100 and something people show up for the event that
Brilliant.
She didn't have to do anything for.
There's so many goddamn marathons going on around here. That's perfect. Yeah.
And by the way, here were the numbers. In one day, she had 130 RSVP, 56 that actually showed up, and 39 appointments made so far.
And now the 39 appointments were for the regular intro, the regular 2-week free trial. The other numbers were the ones who made the appointment for that special session that she did.
Precisely. Yeah.
I'm starting to see that this marketing thing is not just all work. It's about lighting the spark in the right spot and then let the fire grow, kind of.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it is really getting the concept. And again, Master Smith just said it again. Referral events are about one, you said people's, but one person brings a lot of people, or 30 or 40 of your students bring 1 or 2 friends each, right? So it's a group event where they bring a few friends each. That can be a belt graduation, or it can be a buddy day, or any of those things, or it's something where one student invites everybody in their circle, right? So again, at work, in their softball group or whatnot. But once you get the concept of most referrals come from option A or option B, Then it's how do I craft various versions of option A, various versions of option B, and get that to go, right? And then most external events are about what organization, group, business has rounded up a bunch of people who look like our students, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's a farmer's market and just a bunch of people come out for some other reason. Maybe it's a softball league where they have 1,000 people signed up who are kind of in the right age group and mindset and so forth. Maybe it's a fair or carnival where the whole community comes out. See, most of those things is not we're out advertising to try to get people to show up, but we're piggybacking off of somebody else's existing clients or existing traffic. Maybe I'm at the AMC theater and ballerina is showing for the adults, or Karate Kid is showing for the, and that's going to have quite a spectrum because I mean, you know, the original Karate Kid movie was 1985 or something like that. So, you know, it's going to have quite a spectrum of
Yeah, but when you think about it, there's really a lot of them. Just across the street from my school, I never realized pickleball is a huge thing right now.
We talked
I
about
said that
What
yesterday.
the hell? I swear to God. And there's so many people playing pickleball just across the street. I don't associate with those type of people, but maybe, like there's a lot of them that they drive
Well,
nice cars. So yeah,
I was making fun of pickleball while we were at the resort hanging out in the
That's
sun.
right.
Yes.
I also was in a racquetball league. I did all this stuff, and the reason I was doing most of this stuff is because I called it cross training. I was doing it when I was competing, so I didn't have to always do one cardio thing or one training thing. I played tennis, I did this, I did that. That was helping me. I was in a cycling group. But if you go to these different groups, now you got to remember, Ben, that not all of them are interested in self-defense per se, but every one of these sports clubs are interested in reducing injuries through flexibility training, improving
yeah.
performance through cardiovascular training. So we're going to do a special seminar on stretching to reduce injuries in sports. We're going to do a special training on cardiovascular training to help you improve your performance. And on top of that, we'll throw in some self-defense things that'll give them a little knowledge.
There's a lot of
And
tech businesses around here, maybe stress reduction and productivity and that kind of thing, right?
You
yeah,
see, we're
yeah,
thinking outside the box now.
That
yeah.
makes sense.
A quick question in
That's
relation
Go
what
ahead.
we gotta do.
Go ahead.
talk. So I'm a firearms instructor, and it's
Yeah.
a USCCA and also NRA, but the
Mhm.
USCCA is the United States Concealed Carry Association.
Mhm.
They've approached me, and I did it once. I did a woman's personal safety seminar, and they do all the marketing for me. So I have one set up for April 5th. It's a non-lethal self-defense seminar. I have to teach the USCCA curriculum, but I'm also going to add a 1 hour like self-defense physical seminar afterwards. And I'm trying to figure out how to, and they'll literally market this, and they'll do it every week. They'll do it every month. I already have 40 people scheduled for it. They're probably thinking about 80 people are going to sign up. So I'm just trying to figure out, because it's free, they do all the marketing, they bring them in, I teach the class, they pitch the Delta Defense to them, then I finish teaching the class, trying to figure out how I can cap, but there are people that want to know about self-defense. There's got to be a portion of them that might be
Well,
willing to do that with physical training. So I'm just trying to convert them.
everybody who takes that class, you've arranged with whoever's helped you set it up. You're going to tell them that you're going to give everybody 2 weeks free of training, plus they get a martial arts T-shirt. And now I get them all in the T-shirt, and they all get 2 weeks free. And that way we can do a little more extensive training and go from where we left off there in that special seminar you did.
I got
Yeah.
you.
The most important thing though, and again, this is make sure that you have the concept right. Showing up for a group of people and talking to them, or showing up at a group of people and just handing out literature doesn't get you very far, right? Going to the next level where you're teaching them a physical class is better. Getting their name, mailing address, phone number, email address as a waiver, permission slip, however you want it to be
Waiver slip.
phrased.
Have to have a waiver.
Yeah.
So they're all,
But you always,
any of the non-live fire stuff, I just do all the I just do here at my martial arts facility. So they're actually all coming here. So it makes it easy in that respect.
right, you want to make sure that you have their name, mailing address, phone number, email address.
Right.
Then the second thing is when they're coming, again, they're coming into your school on the way through the door. You just talk to them, everybody who's participating in this, we're going to get a good overview today. But what we really need to do is get a review, and we're giving everybody 2 free weeks and a free t-shirt or whatever you want to give them, a uniform. What I would like to do is schedule you for a follow-up class regardless. Most people are coming back on Monday at X time. A few are coming back Tuesday at this time, or we have later in the week, if that works better. Does Monday or Tuesday work better for you? And you make the appointment on the way in the door.
Right. Okay.
Right.
And nobody comes in the door. You have a table set up and you block it off. Nobody steps foot in your school until they filled out a one of those a release. You need that hold harmless release slip filled out. We call it participation slip, but it's really a hold harmless. That they're going to waive, suing you if they get hurt or something happens, they fall down and hurt themselves.
Yeah, the main thing is you get their mailing address, their phone number, their email address, and you schedule the follow-up on the way in the door.
Okay.
And again, that same principle, anytime they're coming to you where you have that control, if it's kids, as long as you have parents present, and if it's adults, you don't have to worry about that one. You always get the appointment before the class on the way in the door. The mistake is I teach the class, I teach my heart out, I try to make it entertaining, I make sure they have a great time, and then I say, hey, if you want to come back in for another class, go talk to Marge at the front desk. And then you go, well, nobody made an appointment, or 40 people were here and only one of them made an appointment. It's not that they didn't enjoy the class, it's that when you're done, psychologically, they tend to think, well, they're going to be busy, I'll call them back later, or let me go look at my schedule. They have all kinds of rationale in their head for why they'll get back to you. But if you just barricade the door and make the follow-up appointment on the way in, yeah, some of them won't show up for the follow-up appointment, but you'll end up with, if 40 people come in the door, you'll probably end up with 38 appointments, and you'll end up with 30 of them that show up.
It's the same slip you have them fill out, but a different version of it at the spin wheel at the live events. And because at the live events, we have our schedule where we're going to circle the one that fits for them. So we don't have to write it on something else. We just circle it. It's real quick. And if it's an adult thing, it's a waiver. And everybody has to fill out a waiver who is going to participate in anything we do. If it's a kid's thing, then it's a permission slip, which is also a waiver, but it's given the parents giving us permission, and the waiver is included in that one. And the other one for adults, because it's a waiver, I don't put waiver on it. I just put a participation slip. And in that participation slip is the waiver, which we have several samples of that in our
Yeah, we always just use the same, form we had to fill out for an intro class, which had all the, what they're trying to accomplish, all the contact information, all of that stuff. But the main thing was anytime they come to the school is you want to make the appointment on the way in the door and make sure you have full contact information.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Matt Smith, we have to wrap up. Anybody have anything else real quickly before we go? I blitzed everybody with all of our scheduling for the year yesterday. It's up in the circle group. There's Matt Smith. There's even a little video on the way into the room right now with the times. But our next one is coming up in May 15th, 16th for Quick Start, 16th, 17th for Leadership Mastery. And Ben, you're now looks like officially getting into the $1 million group, May 18th. Ben, did you think you'd be running $1 million school when you came in and doing 16,000 a month? About what's it been?
I thought you were
20 months ago.
Yeah. No, I thought no way. You guys were talking about $1 million school, and I just thought you guys were just blowing smoke. Swear to God.
And how long did you run your school and couldn't get too much past 16 or 20?
I
Before you
I had been running that school for about 21 years. I'm on year 23 right now. So yeah.
Awesome.
And my father
Okay.
ran a martial arts school. I watched him lose money my entire life. So I didn't know you could actually have a career as a martial artist
Awesome.
Yeah.
without being broke. I had no idea.
And Master Oliver, for next week, if we could, on Tuesday and Thursday, our Tuesday group and our Thursday group, could we take about a half an hour and go through our Circle website there, our Circle site, and show everybody
Sure.
how to maneuver in that? In the meantime, what I want you guys to do between now and next week is go on Circle and make sure you get familiar with it, and then stuff that you don't know how to do, ask those questions next week when we're going over it a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah, well, the starting point for it is just to make sure you're set up and that your profile is set up completely. And I would ask everybody to do that so you can get to know everybody else and know who to talk to when you're know who else teaches the same style, know who's in your area, all of the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And what I would suggest you do is right up here, it says feed. If you just stay, on feed, it just gives you all the information that's been posted and all of the spaces that you're in. So
yesterday's meeting should be there too.
yeah, that's right. It's that's a little video on the events. This is yesterday's meeting. And again, I'd really recommend everybody go through this because yesterday we talked about Gemma's success with that women's self-defense with the different running groups. That was the one, 56 attendees, and I think I said 39 appointments. And then William Wong's success with the elementary schools. But all of the events and so forth are posted in there. To find out when the upcoming events are, you just go up to events. And then we're in the process of building out a variety of courses. Zoom keeps trying to get in my way.
I'm so glad
the
you're
only
doing
one-
this. This is exactly what I was hoping you'd have.
Yeah, the only one that's
Awesome.
fully built out yet right now is the 6 weeks to fill your school. And so it's a 6-week course. And there you go. Carlos has gone through all of it because congratulations, Carlos. And Jameson is 70% of the way there.
Graduate.
There you go. There you go.
There's Bertrand gone in 62%. Scotty, 40. Good.
But it's designed to be 6 weeks of lessons. It was originally set up to drop on new people coming in one lesson a week each week. But then we had people who were trying to go through it quickly, so we just opened it up where you can go through it as quickly as you want. But what will be, as soon as I get my act together, is we'll have one little course on tuition pricing and structure, one on the enrollment folder and onboarding. Matt Smith, I'll get you to put that stuff together. One on preparation for the enrollment conference, the introductory class, lead conversion processes, and so forth. So we're good, and this will be especially useful for onboarding for new people, but it'll be especially usul for onboarding new staff members.
Quick second, so we could have them set up their profile before next week. Can you show them where they go to do that?
Yeah, probably everybody has done it, but has done it. I keep getting Zoom keeps getting in my way on looking at the screen. Like here's mine. So if you say view profile, and then the photo disappeared. Strange. Yeah, but fill in all this information. Fill out your social media, what predominantly martial arts style you teach. Give some bio information. I don't know why the photo disappeared, but put a photo of you so everybody can tie the profile. Here it'll tell you what spaces you're in, what you've posted, what comments you've made on the different things and so forth. But mostly the important thing is to have your photo, which strangely mine disappeared overnight. But to have your photo and have, what you teach and what you're, where you're at, all that kind of stuff. So people can start.
You go back to your photo for a second or your
okay
for a second.
Yep.
And because I know you can do this in just a quick second, show them that non-photo and there you go. View profile.
Yeah.
Click on your photo there, a non-photo, and then put the photo in there, edit it. And go ahead and put a photo in there. Show them how to put the photo in them.
Well, let's see. Okay.
The one with you pulling your hair out.
Yeah, that's
Is that your favorite? Okay. Well, hell, I don't know where the photo thing is. Post, headline, nation website. Okay,
Okay.
Bob, where's the photo?
we'll do that. Okay, we'll do that for next week then. And if anybody does
Oh,
it,
maybe I'm not in edit mode. Let's see.
If you go to view profile, then you should have an edit button right underneath it where your picture is.
Yeah, you would think. No, we'll figure it out. There should be, you should be able to edit easily.
you had the edit button a while ago. I
It's
saw.
because you're
Click
not
I
on
did.
view
viewing as
up on your
yourself.
profile.
You're viewing as like an admin.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
fair
view
point.
profile.
Yeah,
There it is.
there it is. Now it's already there. It doesn't
Change,
show up.
change.
Yeah, choose file.
Maybe you can't do it while you're screen sharing.
We'll see. I'm looking for the pulling hair photo to entertain Ben.
Yeah,
There you go, Ben.
You use the one for the hammock
There you go, Ben.
with no clothes on.
Well, yeah, let's not go for nude, but
Well, he had his swimsuit on, but you're muted, Ben. So if you're trying to say stuff, we couldn't hear it.
he thought he wasn't
Right.
going to get harassed about that anymore.
Technically, I wasn't naked. I
He
wasn't
had
naked.
his
It was
swimsuit.
a
Yeah.
great testimonial.
It
and I
was a
thought I
wonderful
knew my sound by
testimonial.
now.
And it was a wonderful setting, and it was eye-catching in kind of a nauseating way.
Don't you body shame me.
On that note, we'll call it a day. Thanks, guys. Bob, I think you need to make Master Smith host, and I'm out of here.
Yes, sir.